Hello, everyone out there in YouTube land, YouTube world, Facebook world, social media world, the world, everywhere where people can watch these videos. So, welcome to another edition of Musings with MGL. I think I'm going to do a quick one here today because it is a Saturday and there's so much to do on this Saturday because, I don't have any other time to do stuff during the week because I got all these places to go and things to do and I'm real busy. Obviously, that's a joke because nobody can go anywhere or do anything these days. So I want to do a quick little video today and ask just a simple question. Is this martial law? Are we at that stage where this is martial law? It's a kind of a tricky question because it depends on what your definition of martial law is. If you go with the standard legal definition that you'll find online in the dictionaries and on Wikipedia, etc., this is not martial law because martial law, by the technical definition, requires military action. When you look up all the definitions online, there's always a military component. Occupied land by a military force. Civilian law breaks down, so the military has to step in and enforce the law on behalf of the government through use of the military. So again, you'll see the word over and over again, military, military, military. And so since there aren't tanks rolling through the streets of America yet, there aren't armed National Guard people everywhere yet, then by definition and legality, this is not martial law because there's no military involved. Now, if you want to get into the general concept or the theory of martial law, there's certainly an argument to be made that it either is martial law or it's pretty damn close. Because when you take everything that's going on out there right now, take some of the most extreme states, New York, California, Florida now. Again, I said the other day, we have a stay-at-home order. The county that I live in Florida, just imposed a curfew. They just came out, our county commissioners just voted for an 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew. So now they've taken it the next step in our counties. Of course, you have other counties across the country doing extreme things like shutting down gun shops. We've talked about that before, imposing curfews. They're now arresting people who go out in groups of more than 10. If you have the disease or have been in contact with somebody who has and you're ordered to stay home, if you refuse to stay at home, they will arrest you and they will hold you with no bond. So, it's when you add up all of those individual things, the government has shut down pretty much all public stuff. So anything that we own and run as a community, public stuff, boat ramps, parks, beaches are all closed. Private things that we run as private businesses, restaurants, movie theaters, etc., are all closed and essentially ordered to be closed. Bars have been ordered to close. Gun shops in some places are ordered to close. So now you have them ordering private businesses to close. You have them ordering people to stay at home. And they're telling people if you don't stay at home, you could be arrested, you could be fined, you could be thrown in jail with no bond. The government is giving you money to survive. So they've now become your caretaker as well as your custodian by telling you where you can and can't go. So if you kind of look at martial law in the grand concept of the government, because after all, the military is just an extension of the government. They work for the government. The military is an independent thing in and of itself, but they take their directions on behalf of the government. So if you look at it that way, what you have here is the government in some places, not everywhere, declaring a de facto, in my opinion, martial law. They're just not using the military to do it. Right now, they're still using civilian law enforcement agencies to do it and civilian courts and stuff like that to do it. But everything that you would think of that comes with martial law, telling you where you can and can't go, telling you when you can and can't go, telling you who you can and can't hang out with, telling you how many people you can hang out with, telling you the type of business that you can run or not run, and then we'll pay you and take care of you because you can't do all of those things. That, when you look at all those things as a whole, in a concept, to me, equals martial law. I'm not saying we're in martial law, and this isn't a conspiracy conversation. People are free to differ from me. I'm certainly not saying the UN's coming in and taking over the world, or every time somebody posts a picture on Facebook of a railroad truck going with a railroad train going with a couple of Humvees on it. People are like, oh, here it comes. You know, they're setting up camps. No, this isn't a conspiracy video. I'm not one of those people. I don't go far into conspiracy zones. I'm not saying that the government's doing that things. I'm looking at it from a legal standpoint as a lawyer as to what the definition of martial law would be legally, as we talked about, and what the concept or the spirit of martial law is. In the law, you talk about there's two things. You talk about the specific and the legality of the law, and then you kind of talk about the spirit of the law. You may hear that a lot. Well, they didn't actually violate the technical law, but they violated the spirit of the law. And that's kind of a real thing that you see argued a lot in the legal community. So I'm approaching this strictly as a lawyer and kind of a libertarian and an individual rights constitutional person. So I'm looking at everything that's going on out there through that lens, not through a conspiratorial lens. I do not believe this is some conspiracy by the Illuminati to set us up for martial law and to take over the country. There are certainly people out there who believe that. I am not one of them. I'm simply asking the question from a legal standpoint and a constitutional standpoint, is this where we're at? And I think, in my personal opinion, I believe if you're in that restrictive of a place, you are. So, example, take the county that I'm in and the state I'm in. It's everything. Everything's closed. All public stuff are closed. A lot of private businesses are closed. There's a stay-at-home order for everywhere. There are orders for people to be arrested. You see the stories here in Florida of people being arrested. The pastor was arrested. They do all that stuff all the time. And then now, all the way down to the county I'm at now, there's a curfew where you can't be out past 11 o'clock at night. And it says in the order that they put out that police officers can pull you over if you're out past the 11 o'clock curfew. So now things like probable cause and reasonable suspicion are out the window because you're out past 11 o'clock. That's all the probable cause they need. So when you get a county or an area or a city that's got all of those things, then I think you've reached that point. Now, if you don't have all of those things, if all you've got is a stay-at-home order that says you should stay at home, but they're not pulling people over in the middle of the day and asking them where they're going yet, you haven't reached that level, you're a little further away from martial law. If you're in a state that hasn't even issued a stay-at-home order, and they're just like advisories about not being in groups of 10, then you're fine. But if you take a county or a municipality, like I said, that I live in, where now you have everything from the top all the way down to, if you're out when we tell you you can't be, we're going to start pulling you over and issuing you citations or arresting you or whatever they're going to do to enforce this. Right now, they claim all they're going to do is advise people when they pull them over not to go out. We'll see what the next level on that's going to be. If they keep doing that and people still keep going out, are they going to go to the next level? Not to mention, as a lawyer, I do a lot of criminal defense. Now that you're giving the office, law enforcement, one more reason to pull people over, that may lead to things like illegal searches of cars or harassment of individuals or illegal questioning or illegal detentions. It just gives the government more power to interact with you, and in my opinion, that's always a bad thing. So just wanted to put the question out there. Okay, people can disagree with me. As always, click subscribe, click the notifications if you want to get a notification when I do one of these videos. Give me a thumbs up if you think that we are basically there, or at least getting there. We're really damn close. Give me a dislike if you think I'm crazy, and I am a conspiracy theorist. I don't think I am. And the last thing I'll say is I do think it's kind of ironic because a lot of the people who for years since Donald Trump got elected have been saying he's a tyrant, he's a dictator, and he's just looking to impose his will on the country, and he's going to declare martial law one day. These are the same people who are now today basically begging him to do it and criticizing him because he hasn't done it yet, and saying he should have done it sooner. And why aren't we having more federal lockdowns and federal rules? Why isn't the military? They're asking him to enact the Military Production Act and start forcing companies to make products that they don't normally make. People are calling for him to bring in military ships for hospitals. So you see that even the federal government is getting closer and closer to the actual definition of it. They've resisted it so far, to the administration's credit, but I just find it ironic that the same people who have been paranoid for years that Donald Trump was going to declare martial law and take over the country are now begging him to do it and criticizing him because he hasn't done it yet. So that just tells you how crazy times that we live in. But those of us who have always been against it thought it was crazy when people were saying he was going to do it then, and we're certainly saying he shouldn't do it now. We've been consistent, but people in different political perspectives have kind of switched sides on what their position is on the strength of the federal government, whether they should lock us down and declare martial law and kind of go from there. So are we heading there one day in the future? I don't know. You know, we're keep getting, as I said, we keep going step by step by step by step by step. And is it going to be there someday? I guess it depends on how bad things get. But for those of us who are constitutional, libertarian kind of individual, liberty-minded people, I think we're already there. I think now that they've got a curfew that says they're going to start pulling you over for being out when you're not supposed to me, all the other things they were doing was pretty bad. But I think that kind of like puts you over the top of to where now they are in complete control of what we can do and when we do it. And that's something that I don't like, and I'm not going to stand for it. I don't have anywhere to go after 11 o'clock, so I'm certainly not saying I'm going to go out at 11 just to push the buttons. But I don't agree with it, and I think we're too far down the line on that. But that's just my opinion. If you disagree, give me a dislike. Otherwise, continue to like, comment, share, subscribe to my channel. I'm still trying to find a better place to do this because that's why I keep turning the camera and getting more of the hall, because this freaking light behind me is just beaming sun in all the time. So I'm still trying to find a better place I can do these. I'm still working on some technology to up the wow factor for the site here. And it's probably boring just watching me sit here in the hallway and talking to a microphone. But thanks for doing it, though, and I appreciate it. So as always, stay safe, stay healthy, stay open if you can, and carry on.